Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and it's the start of week 2 of Connected Educator Month. I'll turn my video back on here for a minute. It's late at night in my office. I'm sorry I don't have a coat and tie on. You'll have to forgive me. But tonight is another Connected Cafe, although we are kind of casual here, so it's probably appropriate. Michelle Cordy is here. Michelle from Hack the Classroom, one of my favorite speakers. Michelle, thanks for coming as a mystery guest.
Thank you for having me.
It looks cold. Why are you so bundled up?
It is getting chilly. I mean, you know, I'm in London, Ontario, Canada, so I'm holding up the stereotype that Canada is continuously chilly. But the cold weather is coming in, and I have to tell you, I always jump the gun on cold weather. I look forward to scarves and hoodies and wool. So I may be jumping the gun here, but it's just what feels right for me.
That's becoming. So there's so much going on with Connected Educator Month. It's just an incredible amount of content. If you haven't signed up for EdConnector, please do so. Mark Sylvester, I think is the creator of this cool deal, is in the room. The book clubs are going, and I think something's starting today, maybe the Connected Educator starting today. Do look at the website for that. There is a badge of the day. Those of you who know me know I'm not a huge badge fan, but there's a badge, and I'll give you a code at the end of the event if you would like to claim your badge. Anyway, lots of fun. I shouldn't sound negative. I don't feel that negative, but I'm just not a big badge fan. Okay, this is a chance for you to let us know where you're participating from. Look to the left of the map. You're looking for the star. Go ahead and click on the star twice, and click on the map. Give a shout out. Time, temperature, location. Whether or not you're wearing a cool scarf like Michelle. We have a North America-centric crowd. Well, our good friends from Science for Us are here. Okay, well, some of you have been with us before, and others have not, but this is a very casual event. It's intended to help you connect with others and to connect with a special guest. We have the special guest, we have others, so we should have some fun. Michelle, can I ask you to give a few minute kind of story? Tell us about who you are and what you do and why you do it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm glad to be here because I think at the heart of it, I'm a connected educator, and by that I mean that the cool things that I am fortunate to do in my classroom, I wouldn't do if I wasn't a connected educator. I wouldn't have the ideas I have if it weren't for my PLN, if it weren't for connecting to other people. If there weren't people cheering me on, like Steve, that I appreciate, and administrators that never say no or never even say yes, but they just say yes and. So I think being a connected educator is about letting people help you, asking for help, and finding those connections. So I'm a grade 3 and 4 teacher in London, Ontario, Canada. I've been teaching for 13 years, and I teach with one-to-one iPads, which in my context is a little bit special because I teach in a very Windows-heavy, Microsoft-heavy board, so it's definitely a big leap to go out and secure funding and deploy iPads. And it's not a common thing where I am to use that level of technology integration. So I'm playing around with that and having a lot of fun with the affordances. Particularly, Steve Jobs says that, you know, the iPad is a magic window where nothing stands between you and what you love. For me, it was like a magic carpet. And I gave this device to students. They were flying all over the internet. And so there are wonderful affordances and also some really interesting constraints about giving students access to networked knowledge and unbounded thinking. So I'm playing with that a lot, hacking that.
So I'm looking for a reference here because we did a show on Future of Education on an iPad movie that's coming out. And do you know Bruce Umstead, and have you heard about their iPads in the Classroom movie?
No, do tell.
Well, I'll put a link in the chat. Anybody wants to can go. I did an interview with them, and I think the movie's out or about to come out or something. Maybe somebody knows more than me, but I just fell in love with these teachers and their very purposeful use of iPads in the classroom in comparably young grades. Okay, so go ahead.
I think you do have to be purposeful. I think people talk about engagement and that, you know, iPads and technology is great for engagement, but if that's really all we're using this device for, that's really expensive. Like, I could buy a lot of glitter for the cost of an iPad. So I think you do have to be really purposeful about it, and kids have an intuitive sense of using devices and handheld devices for gaming, but they don't have an intuitive sense of using devices for deep learning. And I think that that's why it's important to be using them in school, because people don't know how to use technology necessarily for augmented thinking.
Awesome. You've just provided the platform for our drill down tonight. But before we go there, we have a team for audience participation. So the goal here is, this is called Most Interesting Things of the Day. Right? Most interesting things you've learned today. And the idea is for you to let us know what you learned today that was valuable. It can be from Connected Educator Month, from a particular activity. It can be just something that you learned. But audience, you're welcome to type on the whiteboard. Look for the icon to the left that has the letter A. If you click on it and open it up, you're going to click on just the straight letter A, and you can type it onto the board, or you can put it in the chat. What did you learn today that was valuable to you? And Michelle, while they're thinking, what did you learn today?
I watched a really excellent TED Talk this morning by Kelly McGonigal, and I'll put a link to it in the chat. What I learned today was about stress, and how Kelly McGonigal, through this TED Talk, is reimagining or reacquainting herself with the place of stress in our lives. And her TED Talk really resonated with me because I'm an athlete, and athletes are really good at managing race day stress and using stress and pressure to achieve our best results. And this TED Talk was all about how when you feel your heart pounding and you feel those signs of stress, like that's not killing us, it's not making us, that's not a problem, if and only if you recognize that stress is actually helping you. So stress isn't bad for us. Our perceptions around stress are what's bad for us. So if you perceive that stress is harmful, then indeed it is. But if you perceive that stress is useful, your heart is pounding, so it's allowing for more blood to flow through your body, which it makes for more blood to your brain, and also releases oxytocin in your blood, a hormone that forces you to seek out other people and connect with other people for collaboration. If you use those stress signals for good and not evil, if you see them as a positive thing, it totally changes the outcome.
Okay, so is she Jane's sister?
Okay, this is the thing. So I tweeted Avant Games today, Jane McGonigal, and I said, I'm sorry to beg, but I have to know, are you related? Because watching Kelly McGonigal, you'd think you were watching Jane McGonigal. They are unbelievably similar. I didn't get a response, though.
I know. I saw your tweet, and I watched.
Katie, I'm with you. I also love Jane McGonigal.
So, Katie, is that for sure? Do we know that? Because this is a pretty powerhouse set of twins.
Oh, they're twins.
Oh, there's the answer.
Of course there. Katie Wilkie, you are amazing. I feel like everything is right in the world now that I know that they're indeed twins. I love them both. I'm going to start a fan club. Maybe Katie will join me in my McGonagall Girls fan club.
That is funny. Oh, it's the power of connection. Okay, so somebody said that 1 hour long meetings on a Monday after school are not fun. We learned that today. Someone else said smaller learning environments often add to the effectiveness of a PBL environment, such as high-tech high and Avalon School. Oh, and I'm listening to the Audible version of Malcolm Gladwell's new book, David and Goliath. And I'm really liking it. I mean, it's kind of Gladwellian in the fact that it's a little bit exaggerated, but one of the points that's coming out is this whole idea that we tell the wrong stories about success and how being an underdog often brings out those characteristics which are most likely to lead to success, and I bet you there's a connection with the stress video. Someone said, I learned how to present in live stream using Producer for the DEN virtual conference. Cool. I can relax and give the students time to learn. Love that. I'm going to increase the font size on this one. Again, feel free to raise your hand if you want to take the microphone and say something. I sadly learned that some policymakers perceive success in education as a competition and not a goal to have success for every student and child. And I just recorded a keynote for the K-12 online conference with Audrey Waters, and this is a big question for me, right? Which is, do we really believe that every child should be independently successful? And we're not going to dive deeper like we did last week on this one, but I'm curious about that. Ask for help and you'll get more than you wanted. I can always count on my teammates. And Jane Goodall named the first chimpanzee she befriended David Graybeard. I love it. Okay. Anybody else learn anything they want to talk about? On whom would you want to depend if you were not independently successful? Interesting question. Okay, while we're waiting to see if anybody else has another question or not question, but has another thing they learned today. Mark, who is in the audience, Mark Sylvester, wanted to know if anybody's made a connection on Ed Connector. I will tell you that I'm way busy, but I entered my information, put in my areas of interest, and there's somebody right close to me and everybody else miles away, and I am definitely going to pursue that connection, but I have not yet. Anybody else have an experience on Ed Connector? Hey, Mark, you want to take the mic and tell us what Ed Connector is? Let me give you the microphone here. You now can turn your mic on by clicking on the talk button at the top left. Mark says he made a video. So, Mark, if you would like to...
Steve, can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. I love these cafes. I am not an educator, but I'm supporting educators in a lot of different projects. We run NASA's big STEM site. We're now running Ed Connector, and I'm learning so much because what I love about this group of people, you're kind of my people because you're all connected educators and you're all interested in technology. So I don't have to explain why you might want to make better connections. So I love that. So what I'm really curious about is now we're in our second week. We broke 1,000. We added 1,000 teachers as of around noon Pacific today. So that's great. So our goal is many times that. So we need everybody to tell everybody what's going on. But what I learned in the first week was that people didn't know that you could do search. Like you could do some really awesome searches. So I created a little video on our NASA STEM site, which I posted there, which will give you in like 4 or 5 minutes some really good tips and tricks on how to get the most out of the system. So, Steve, you were saying that you went in and you found the person that was most like you, right, really close to you. And one of the things with searching is that, let's say you were looking for people who could help with action research. Go in and search for that, and you'll find that there are like 94 people who could actually help with action research. And the matching engine then shows you, who the people are that are most like you. The reason we do that is so that you can find some other things to talk to that person about. So what I'm really interested in is, has anybody reached out to you? That would be number one. And have you reached out to anybody, and did they get back to you? Because one of the things is people forget they built their profile, and so they don't realize, oh no, this is somebody I want to talk to. Now there's a lot of activity in the book club, which is like the primary thing people are doing with it. But I just want everybody to know, wow, there's so much cool, there's so much interesting information and so many amazing people that I'm just going to be Steve, I'm going to be on these cafes a lot because I just want to just help spread the word, and it just seems like you kind of got to tell people 7 times before they do stuff.
Mark, where are you located?
We are located in sunny Santa Barbara, California.
I feel like I've met you in person. You're not going to necessarily
have
me, but
USDLA session with Reggie.
Yes.
Okay, good. Hey, there we go. I thought I recognized you as well. Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
I want to get on a plane and come visit with you. I've got so much to talk to you about. Okay, before we let you go.
Well, no, I'm hanging out here, so I'm just watching. I'm just really curious. Yeah, Peggy, right? What a great connection. The serendipity of things is really good, but one of the reasons we designed the intranetwork platform was so that you could be very deliberate about what you're looking for. Peggy, I'm action research. It was just the first one I saw, so it's one of your favorite topics. You'll notice, one of the things I'm going to, for any of you who are into STEM education, there is, I'm posting in another network here. We built a network for NASA. It's called NEON, which is the NASA Educator Online Network. And if you are doing STEM, you can go in and join that network. It's free as well. And you'll notice, and here's what I think is interesting, Steve, is that I worked with Cheryl and Tom and Darren on the tuning of all of the tags. So if you went in there and you built your profile and you found out who was close to you, it was based on how many tags you had selected. So one of the things you want to do is see if you can't get 40 tags for yourself, because you will have 2 orders of magnitude better matching as a result of that. But when you look at the NEON site that we did, you'll see it's really different because it goes really deep on helping make STEM connections. So what Darren, Tom, and Cheryl said was, this group of people that are connected educators come from so many walks of life. And in fact, what's really very, very interesting as well is it's not limited to the United States. I think in these various chats that have been going on, we've been seeing people. But when I look at the map view on EdConnector, there's Australia, Mauritius, India, Thailand, Turkey, Eastern Europe, UK. I mean, there's teachers from everywhere. And I think as we think about personal learning networks and building those up, I think I would I would challenge everybody on the call here to go and look and use the advanced search. Watch that video so you can see how to use it. It's super easy. You'll all get it in a minute. And then go out and reach out to 10 new people and see if you can get 2 of them to get back to you, and start your own little personal learning network. You can create groups. You can do all that kind of stuff. So it's not an advertisement as much as it is we're so excited that everybody is adopting this so much that we just, for instance, Steve, you know that NBC's doing the Education Nation the last couple of days. So I've kind of been involved in tweeting and being involved in some of those chats and letting those folks know as well, because as connected as we all think we are, we all do have 90 things in our inbox, and we don't always get to the things we should be getting to. So we just need lots more help in beating the drum.
Awesome, Mark.
Thank you,
Thanks.
bud. I'm going to reach out to you, man.
Moving right along. Okay, Michelle, it's all about you. It really is all about you. So what I would like you to, what we would like you to do is to really drill down for us on something or some things that you are super passionate about. What's core to you? If you're talking with a group of friends here, what gets you waving your arms and jumping up and down and saying, this is so important? And then we're going to let the audience kind of talk to you about that and then let you ask them some questions. So Michelle, it's all about you. What's it all about?
Well, I hope that my passion, I can get other people excited about it too. I'm really all about having students make their thinking visible. I'm about instead of working on teaching to the test and working on open response and writing paragraphs, I think writing is important, but increasingly I really value students making rich multimedia artifacts of their learning. This week is a really good example. So I had my students make a magnet lab book, and previous to having iPad, I would have given them a paper lab book, and it had some experiments in it, and it had, they had to draw magnets, and they had to draw where the poles were and all this sort of thing. And then with augmented technology, that same activity is massively amplified. So instead of having my students draw pictures of magnets, which is tedious and time-consuming and doesn't really, I don't think, necessarily do a ton for them, they're taking pictures and labeling them. Instead of describing laboriously, I teach grade 3, so the writing process is still very much developing. So when we want to do the deep dive into their thinking about science, I want them to be able to express as deep a concept as they possibly can, which is sometimes limited by their writing. So I enjoy having my students capture a video of doing magic tricks with magnets and then explaining how it works. So I think that technology allows us to really create digital artifacts where we can really have a rich sense of what our students are able to do and see more deeply what they're thinking about. So I'm really geeking out on formative assessment. I'm really geeking out on putting devices in kids' hands and having them capture the world as they see it. And then I want to be the guy that moves it forward. Assessment's a tough sell, though. How are we feeling about assessment? Is there, that's the key to good teaching, I think, is having your finger on the pulse of what your students are doing and being able to see into their minds. And frankly, it's really difficult to have 20 conversations every period about what my kids are doing. So if I can use technology to have asynchronous conversations and asynchronous observations, then I can see in and then respond to that. I think that's magical. Hacking. Oh, the hacking the classroom thing is really, that's a big topic, but in this particular, well, it's not really. It's refusing to accept the classroom as it is. I think it's looking at the classroom with a very positive perspective. So I think a lot of people say things like education is broken, it needs to be reformed. Like even the language around changing education is about reforming. It's about getting rid of what doesn't work. But I think we need to look at education with a positive lens and think to ourselves that all the aspects and all the elements are there. We just have to hack it together in different ways. A computer coder has limitations and constraints, and they still make wonderful things. So I kind of try to do that same thing in the classroom. So you can be very positive and very optimistic about what's before you while still not accepting it. And I think that's a useful nuance that hackers see when they look at their environment, whether it be a hacker of computer hacking or whether it be a hacker, somebody who's walking into IKEA and being like, that's bogus. I don't want that product. I want that product and that product hacked together, and they just go out and do it. So it's somebody who refuses to accept things as they are, but ultimately is empowered to see that they can do something on their own.
The video you just posted. Shy. Don't be shy. Just click on the talk button. That's the button that says talk on it.
Ah.
There you go.
Hi.
Hi.
I just saw the video. It just came in my inbox, and it's amazing, and it just totally inspired me to want to be like an education hacker. And it's just perfect timing that I get to sit in on this discussion today because I just admire and a huge, huge fan of Michelle. So.
Ooh, a fan, Michelle.
Oh wow, that is like a huge honor.
Okay, so I'm bookmarking that video. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
I know, me too. So I'm really curious. Jean, what is it about hacking in that video that resonates with you?
I think it was very simply put in that, there's, the white hat and the black hat hackers. And, the true innovators were hackers. When you come down to a really basic definition of the word, they're hackers. So I think that that's what we need because it's a new generation. It's things that we can't even explain, and we want our kids to solve these problems, and we can't do it the old way. So we need new ways to teach.
I completely agree with that, and I don't think we can wait much longer. I mean, I totally believe in research. I totally believe in best practice, but I don't know if the timelines that we have to make education better can wait for a peer-reviewed journal of the best teaching practices. I think that we need to go out and do it, and do it consciously and carefully, and do classroom-based research, but I don't think we can wait for experts to tell us how it's going to be.
Hey, I'm going to interject. I run the risk with the lag here of talking over somebody, but it seems to me that hacking would reflect a very healthy culture. Right, that we think about environments in which people are empowered sort of at the front line to put things together. Wouldn't we say that was sort of a sign of a healthy culture?
Hacking as a sign of a healthy culture, that is an interesting question. I think any time that you have an opportunity in your political situation or in your schools, in your public and your private lives to exert your will on the world without hurting other people. I think anytime you have a chance to say what you really feel, and I think anytime you have a chance to scratch a personal itch, which is a huge, like rule number one for hackers, is work on projects that you need and want. So I think anytime you can do those three things, you are in that indeed is a really good marker of a healthy and robust democracy. As soon as those things get shut down, it's like there will be one voice it's like Cuba and an island only providing frozen fish to its people, right? if you shut things down so that everybody has the same and everybody follows in line, that's not healthy. But when you have the openness and people feel that they can make things their own, I think that's definitely a good direction.
Okay, we're going to take a 4-minute break here. We're not going to split off, but this is when Tom DeBoer would normally tell us about the next day's events, and I don't see Tom here, so I think if you are going to attend something tomorrow, would you post a note in the chat so that people can know what they might look forward to on tomorrow? I haven't actually looked at the schedule myself, but is there something you're hoping to attend tomorrow? And if so, put it in the chat. And we don't actually need 4 minutes. We'll just let you keep doing that while we keep moving forward here. Okay, Michelle, creation. Why is creating so important?
Why is creating so important? That is such a great question, and it really ties back to what I was just saying about downstream effects for democracy. I think that if we create classrooms where, or even workplaces, where people are just consuming information or moving information from point A to point B, we're not giving ourselves an opportunity to impart our will on the world. So allowing students in classrooms to create and to make stuff is sending a very strong message to young people at a young age that you have a voice, your voice is unique, it's powerful, and you're allowed to use it. And I think that is incredibly positive for our society as a whole, because I think when everyone is sharing their views and showing up to vote and taking part, participating, I think that has massive effects for our global happiness, our individual self-esteem, but also, the political will of the place where we live. Plus, it's just fun. Making stuff is fun, and we're letting our work seep into and our school with massive amounts of homework, seep into our private home lives. But I don't necessarily see the same flow going the other direction. So we're letting work take up more and more time and energy in our lives, but our passions aren't necessarily flowing the other way. So I think we need to kind of rebalance that, and creating, I think, is the thing that will open the door to let play and passion come back into the school and the workplace.
You used the word flow, and I was just about to talk about flow, but the flow from Csikszentmihalyi, this idea that watched artists at work to do the research on getting into the state where you're doing something that is so creative and the time sort of shifts. So let's do this. If you in the audience have something that you work on as a creator that really fulfills you, would you put that in the chat? And then Michelle, why don't you watch that and see if there's somebody that we can ask a question of. So if those of you in the audience, if there's something that you do that's creative that really fulfills you, would you post that in the chat? I've got Peggy's listing an event for tomorrow. It looks like a couple. EdWeb, your school library, mobile, flipped and curated. That sounds interesting. The 2 guys and some iPads. Global classroom project. Library, some library thing. Okay. Michelle answered herself. Sports, crafting, cooking, your work, your play, let's hear it. Oh. Miranda says, I like to find ways for children to role play. Mark put in a book recommendation. Miranda, if I gave you the mic, would you talk to us about children and role playing? Okay, just click on the talk button at the top left of your screen.
So I like to do social studies with kids. I'm working with 5th graders at the moment. And I find that very often they think of history as something as like reading a novel about some very distant place. But if I can get them to embody the characters in history, suddenly it becomes more real to them. And I love doing debates where students in groups have a chance to prepare to represent a certain person's point of view.
Oh, that's brilliant, Miranda. Thank you for that. And you know what it reminds me of, Miranda, is it reminds me of the fact that Sir Ken Robinson has a theater background.
I do too. I think that, yeah.
Oh, you do as well?
Yes, I do. So I guess that's an easy way for me to teach. But, you know, it gets kids invested because suddenly they have to perform. So they pay attention to what they're doing in a way that they wouldn't if they were writing it on a piece of paper that was private. And it helps them if we do it in a group of 3 or 4 kids, because then they're public, but they're not so exposed that they feel afraid.
Awesome. Thank you, Miranda. Jean says something that is creative and fulfilling for her is leading a Google Apps class staff development. That doesn't sound lame to me. Part of what I love about these virtual conferences is how so many people can present, and I think the act of presenting is such a significantly different experience than just watching. Barbara says she can't figure out how to post the link. Oh, your classroom web page. Okay, Michelle, did you want to ask Mark a question?
Yeah, I was curious about this book that he shared, The Universal Traveler, A Thought Systems Guide to Creativity. Creativity is, you know, people are trying to figure out how that comes into school, and we're talking about embracing failure and those kinds of things. And I just wonder what angle he's taking on that piece. Mark?
This book I found 30 years ago, and I have to say it completely colored how I look at every problem as an opportunity to be creative. So if this isn't just for education, it's for any time we need to solve problems. And it talks about the energy states, if you will, of that problem process. And I really, being the software guy, I really like process, and I love having kind of formulas. And it talks about that if we look at problem solving as a journey, and those energy states are, the first one is accept the situation and find reasons for going on. So that's kind of the first thing. Second is analyze it and get all the facts and feelings about that thing that you want to solve. The third is to define it, to really determine all of the essential goals you're trying to accomplish. Fourth one is the one I think most people think of with creativity, which is the ideation stage, which is finding all of the options to reach the goals. It's been my experience, if you don't do the first 3, you come up with the wrong ideas. The fifth is selecting, which is choosing from the options. If in fact you understand that problem better than anyone in the world because you've defined it, you've analyzed it, you can pick what you think will be the best option. Number 6 is to implement it, take action, or plan to act. And the 7th is to evaluate it, another forgotten step in all of these things, which is to review and then plan again. And it's this great circle. And the book does it kind of like a travel log, which is why it's called The Universal Traveler. And I probably recommend the book 5 times a week to anybody I talk to who's really interested in creativity and getting the most out of innovation.
I'm wondering how many people are rushing right now to buy the cheapest used copy from Amazon.
Well, I'm thrilled that it's actually in print again, because it was out of print for many, many, many years. And I found my dog-eared copy about 2 years ago and was really kind of surprised at how much of an impact it made on me. I completely remember and do all of those steps all of the time. And I find that when I either come up with a bad idea or something didn't work out the way I thought, and I analyze it, I find out that I skipped an important step. And if you do those steps, boom, you'll get it. Peggy, I'm going to check to see if that's yes, that's it. No, that's, let me look at the picture of it. Yeah, that's the book. And a vintage guide. Yeah, it is vintage. It's written by two professors here in San Luis Obispo at Cal Poly.
I think that's really interesting because one of the thinkers that has most inspired me is Ellen Dissanayake, and she's an artist and an independent scholar. And she wrote the book Homo Aestheticus, and she makes the argument that humans are what fundamentally sets humans apart from other creatures on the planet is our deep desire and indeed our deep need to make things special. And she says that making things special provides us with 4 incredibly important needs in our lives. And I think like this is meaning of life stuff. And I think it's stuff that helps us like rock out and just have a fantastic life, but also when you bring it into the classroom sphere is really important. And so her 4 things are meaning. We have a deep need as humans to seek and understand meaning, to feel that we participate in something bigger than ourselves, to feel that we are deeply engaged for meaningful experiences. The second one is having a sense of belonging, that we need to feel part of something with other people. Hands-on competence is a big one, so that you need to be able to make things with your hands, either in the face-to-face flesh and skin world or in this world that we're interacting in right now, that you need to be able to create something. And finally, elaboration. So we all need an opportunity to take something that is as it is and then take it the next step forward, the next step up. And so I think creativity is a fundamental human need, and I was very much inspired by Dissanayake and those 4 aspects, meaning belonging, hands-on competency, and elaboration. I just wonder what the right pipeline is to daily life in the classroom.
Okay, do we live in an amazing world or what? How many of you in the last 5 minutes have clicked on a link that was put in the chat? If you have, click on the yes response. There are some icons in the participant window that lets you click yes or no on the 4th icon. Okay, that's pretty stunning, right? 13 so far, and 16. You've clicked on some link or gone somewhere. Now I want to really test this. How many of us have bought a book in the last 5 minutes? What's been recommended? I'm curious. I actually clicked and bought the book. Did anybody else do that? Does anybody think they might do it? 269 taps. Peggy. Wow. Okay, I'm just interested that the influence spreads so quickly. Right?
I think it's also interesting that people come back too. I think that's a really important point. That I think like it is super powerful that we can click on a hyperlink and go out. But I think that these people here tonight, everyone here has really awesome info-tension skills. You have you're deploying your attention as you best see fit, and I think that's really admirable because we live in an era where our attention is taken more often than it is bestowed. So I think skipping off happily on links is totally leveraging the powers of the internet, but then coming back to what your deep heart desires and what you intended to do is also important.
Wow. Okay. We're going to keep hearing from Michelle, but for a minute here, we're going to take a quick break and do another activity. If you are on Twitter, go ahead in the chat and put in your Twitter handle and one word that might describe you. And then our job as audience, as participants, is to pick one of those people, go to their actual Twitter profile, and we're going to ask 3 or 4 of you to tell about someone else that you've just discovered right now. So go ahead. Oh, Mark says he's eclectic. Wow, good word. What am I going to say? So start looking for somebody in the list, look them up on the web, and then we're going to ask you to come back and report on them. I'm going to go to Katie Wilkie. I claim Katie and find out about Katie. Michelle, did you pick somebody?
We're picking somebody in our group, yeah?
Correct. Okay, I'm going to tell you about Katie Wilkie. Katie is a BYU English grad. Okay, so Katie, we have a connection there. I wonder if we've connected before. Doing curriculum design with Hope for Utah organization. Passionate about education, art, and graphic design, lifelong learning. Katie, I don't want to ask a personal question, but our oldest daughter graduated from BYU, and she's 25. I wonder if you might know her. She was in the theater department. Speaking of theater. Michelle, who did you pick?
I picked Jean. Hang on one sec.
What did you find out?
Fascinating. I would like to be more like Jean. She is an engineer turned educational technologist. So I bet that if you gave Jean an Arduino, and she would be able, and some other pieces that were required, she would be able to light stuff up super fast. She'd be like super awesome Sylvia in a heartbeat. She's in Manhattan Beach, California, and she's into iPad in the classroom as well, and as she said earlier, she's into Google too.
Okay, who else picked somebody and looked them up? Raise your hand and we'll give you the microphone. Or you can put it in the chat. Okay, Jean, who did you pick? You have the ability to turn your mic on.
I picked Lorraine, but I couldn't find out much. I think someone else noticed that too. The tweets were protected. So I'll have to find someone else.
So Lorraine, you're just going to have to tell us about yourself. So I'm
Please.
giving Lorraine the microphone.
Because I love to be curious.
Lorraine, you can turn the talk button on and tell us about yourself. Lorraine is typing, I can see. Okay, anybody else pick somebody? Want to raise your hand and let us know? Who did you find out about? Barbara. Go ahead. Click on the talk button at the top left.
I picked Peggy George, and she's a retired elementary principal, university teacher educator, Classroom 2.0 live host, DenStar, Tech Geek, grandma. So I have some of those things. I'm not a principal and I'm not a grandma, but I also teach at the university level also.
Does it say that Steve Hargadon is Peggy George's biggest fan?
No, it does not say that.
Peggy, you must add that.
But it says that she's followed by 21 others. She's followed by Dave Guyman, who I also follow and taught me how to do the Paperly. But I'm looking for the other 21 followers to see if you seem to follow her, and I haven't found you yet.
Well, that may just be followers that you both have in common.
Oh, no, there you are. Okay. You're following her. Okay. And I did email you my website, yes.
Oh, good. Let me look and see if I can pick it up right now. It has not come through yet, but Gmail has been really slow for me lately. When it comes in, I'll post it. Okay, one more. Last call. Okay, Gail, who did you connect with? Gail, who did you connect with? You turn your mic on by clicking on the talk button at the top left. Oh, okay, let us know in the chat. Okay, Michelle, so what's the connection between STEM and literacy? The phrase for this strand in Connected Educating Month is Innovating STEM and Literacy. Have you got an idea of why they would put the two together?
I have some idea, and I have somebody that I would point you to. So I have somebody that I will that I think people might like to check into. That I'll save for the end of my little piece. When I was at ISTE this year, I heard people talking about moving from STEM to STEAM to STREAM. So the STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Then we move to STEAM and we have the A. The A is for the arts. Definitely, I'm a big fan of that piece. And then the next step is to add in R, which is for reading and research. And I think that is potentially a very smooth move. But I also think potentially it's a full circle return to integrated education. I think that teaching and learning in an interconnected, integrated way is very historical thinking, but I think it's also very good thinking for today and for moving forward. When our students do a Google search, they don't know that the answer that they're getting comes from what area those answers come from, what discipline of thought those answers come from. So when you do a Google search, the answer that you get is partially from science, partially from the arts, partially from the humanities, and it's all interconnected. So I wonder if what we're going to see is a passing of interdisciplinary, that indeed ideas and problems are deeply contextualized across different disciplines. So it's going to be something where we just get more comfortable with it. So I wonder about connected educators focusing on STEM and literacy and indeed moving towards interdisciplinary thinking, but we have to find a better word for it. And the person that gave this talk at ISTE, his name is Jeff Piontek. I may be mispronouncing that. His last name is Piontek. And he spoke, like I said, about STEM to STEAM to STREAM. What do you think?
I think you probably did a much better job than I would have done. Here's the description from the website. STEM and literacy are two pillars of our educational challenge of which every educator is striving to address in one form or another, and connected education has a lot to offer both. I think I actually like your definition a little bit better. But it's a good connection.
Can you read that again? I didn't hear the end part.
Sorry, STEM and literacy are two pillars of our educational challenge that virtually every educator is striving to address in one form or another. And connected education has a lot to offer both.
That's really interesting because there's a conflict there, right? Because they're saying that it's two pillars. It's like two silos. They're two things that stand separate. And I wonder if that is indeed the case.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think literacy is the ability to absorb and to create in a way that is understandable to others. And it feels like STEM is an arena or a part of that. Does that make sense?
Could you keep going a little bit more on that?
I think you did a better job than me. I'm embarrassed to even move on. Miranda says, this is a brilliant idea. STEM is about what is plausible. We think that some people are interested in fiction and some in nonfiction, but everyone is interested in the real world and what works there. If I do this, what will happen? That is about both science and art.
That is brilliant. Brilliantly put. then it becomes difficult too, because if everything is everything, you're back to nothing. So I think as we move forward and realizing how deeply connected ideas are and that learning is messy, as educators in a classroom, you have to find a balance between interdisciplinary thinking, and we need a new name for that, but also between that and seeing the deep connections. But then also you have to get specific and label things and see things as they are, because that knowledge is also important. So there's always sort of a balance back and forth, isn't there? Thanks for that's tweetable.
Okay, Michelle, in your last couple of minutes, if you could encourage people to read one book, go see one movie, do one thing, what would that be today? What advice would you give today?
Wow, if I could say see one book, read one book, see one movie, do one thing. I think the one thing I would tell you to do is, it might be getting late, but today or tomorrow go out and get some really hard exercise, because there's nothing like exercise to clear your mind and clear your thoughts. I think that, so that would be the body piece. I think the book that I've read recently for the second time, because I just loved it, was Thinking Fast and Slow. And I think that it's going to help me refine my thinking and sharpen my own understanding and my metacognitive skills about the difference between intuitive thinking and deep thinking. So I would definitely say to jump in on that. And I think that, you know, I would tell people to trust their own deep desires of what they want to do. I think really increasingly we need to have, it's very important, as I started off saying tonight, to be connected educators. That's how we achieve things that we want. But you can be connected to whoever you want to be connected with to achieve whatever goal you want to connect to achieve. So I'd say figure out what is your personal itch. What is it that gets you fired up? And then find the people that will help you solve that goal, overcome that obstacle. And I think that is going to give you a deep opportunity for meaning, belonging, hands-on competency, and elaboration.
Wow, you're articulate.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, this has been really fun. Our other mystery guest was Kevin Honeycutt, but he must not have been able to pull away from his other activity. And so I somehow want to make sure that you have met him. Michelle, have you ever met Kevin?
Only very briefly, but I'm a bit of a fan, so I would definitely enjoy an opportunity to speak with him. And he's a clever lad. He's quite musical, isn't he?
Kevin is everything. He's sort of the Robin Williams of education.
The Robin Williams, like the fun Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam, or like the later Robin Williams, Dark and Scary. I'm going to say early.
The fun, the irrepressible, full of energy. You cannot believe how talented he is, Robin Williams.
I'm totally behind that. That sounds good. He's actually speaking in Ontario in October, so I will get to gaze upon him in October if I don't get to meet him face-to-face or online face-to-face before then.
Michelle, thanks so much for coming. So appreciate it. We missed our on the board, and we've done the meet and greet. I'm slides behind, but here is your event badge claim code if you need it. Yes, Mark says, do we get a badge? There it is. Michelle, a delight as always.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the discussion back and forth. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks, everybody. Michelle, Cordy. Okay, maybe I'm tied between being the biggest fan for Michelle and Peggy George, but two clear favorites. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great day tomorrow with whatever you're doing. Don't miss it tomorrow. Ira Sokol and Kathleen Cushman should be lots of fun. And the whole week is lots of fun. So come back. Take care. Bye. Oh, the code didn't work. They're going to be so frustrated. Well, we tried.